Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
I'm not a good pretender, I never could live a lie. I said too much, and let it get the best of me, until it took the rest of me. I thought it was worth the fight, to fight for what's right, to right all the wrongs, to sing in our songs, to know we belong. No one understands, they don't have the desire, got the legs in the fire, and I do it again. We give it all we can, all we have is desire, got the legs in the fire, we burn ourselves and never say, never say, never say, never again. I never say, never say, never say, never again. I learned more from one enemy than from 1,000 friends. That heaven takes care of the fools and scoundrels in the end. You learn more from one lie than from 1,000.
Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. And tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot, and so much more. Thank you so much for joining us here. We are hitting Sunday on this after hour, right? Once again, we're at the end of the weekend, getting ready to push you into that work week and sending you off with positive energy. We're going to manifest a great work week, as we always do, as we go ahead and get into what we're going to get in tonight. We have a guest, as you saw in the thumbnail, Kosta Makreas, and it's going to be, I think, probably an awesome conversation. You can probably count on that. And as well, we want to make sure that we go ahead and take a look in the crowd and see who has come in first tonight. Using my channeling or psychic ability, I think I might be able to say who's going to be first without looking, but let's take a look. Let's hop up in here and see. Okay, so it looks like we have a race fan with the gold. Race fan saying good evening, Rob. We got Roger Murray saying happy Memorial Day, Rob G. Honor military members. My father served U.S. Air Force Vietnam, 81st Flyer Wing, Brentwaters, England. He was a mechanic and died February 12th, 2009 at age 69. Heart goes out, Roger Murray. Definitely happy Memorial Day. If you can say happy, right? Just want to go ahead and give that shout out to everyone. My father was in the service as well, Air Force. That's how I was born in Hawaii, Honolulu. And so totally feel your pain there. Appreciate that, Roger Murray. Thank you so much for coming in tonight as well. Let's see, moving down the list. Let's see what else we have here. Looks like we have Mary R in the building saying hello, everyone. Let's see, we have Penny stepping in saying good evening, everyone. Good evening, Penny. Thank you for stepping on in tonight. Let's see, we have Corey. Corey saying, you the man, Mr. Rob G. Thanks for doing what you do. Thank you for doing what you guys do, right? None of this, it takes us all. You have to be here in order for this to work out. And the conversations that you have in the chat kind of keeps this thing going, right? So it takes all of us. I do appreciate the comment, though. Just trying to move the needle. Just trying to move the needle. Let's move down the list here. We have Aloha Dave 13 saying Buenas noches a todo de Mexico. Good evening to everyone from Mexico. Aloha Dave, once again, keeping us bilingual, and we appreciate it, right? So if you don't know how to say anything else in Spanish, you definitely know how to say good evening to everyone from Mexico. Let's see, moving down the list, who else do we have? We have Ida M. Ida M coming in saying hello, everyone. Hello, Ida M. Thanks so much for showing up tonight. Let's see. Moving down the list here. Okay, yes, Van Gold. Van Gold has stepped in the building saying, good evening, Rob G and Spaced Out Radio family. Thank you so much for coming in, Van Gold. Party can't start without you, so I'm glad you went in and showed up tonight. Let's go ahead and get it in. Moving down the list, we have Jacqueline D saying, good evening, Earthlings. Good evening, Jacqueline D. Thank you so much for coming on in tonight. Let's see. Moving down the list, Susan Alloway has come in saying, hello, everyone. Hello, Susan Alloway. Thank you so much for coming in and spending time with us tonight. We do appreciate you. All right, Kitty Catty Wacky. Okay, that is a name. That is a name right there, and definitely seems like a new name. So, if you are new, Kitty Catty Wacky, thank you so much for coming on in. We do appreciate you, and kind of let you know how we do this here. We actually run this show. Well, this channel runs 7 days a week, so you're catching the after hours. We run the show Saturday and Sunday. And that's 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. Then you got Monday through Friday, David Scott, conductor of the Woo Train, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Until midnight. And we have Jessica Jones, the Crypto Huntress, if you didn't know. She's also on Sundays, and her show runs 7 to 8 p.m. I believe she was off for the night tonight, but she should definitely be back. With that being said, that's what you can expect here. So every day, 7 days a week, you could expect something going on here at Spaced Out Radio. Moving down the list, who else do we have here tonight? Yep, Paranormal Pixie Laura is here saying hello, everyone. Hello, Paranormal Pixie Laura. Thank you so much for coming on in. We do appreciate you showing up tonight. Let's see. We have my guy Brown Dwarf saying good evening. Good evening, Brown Dwarf. Thank you so much for coming on in. Hopefully we enjoy the show tonight. Expecting to guest Kosta Makreas. Hopefully we can go ahead and get him in here shortly. I guess we'll see what happens there. Let me see. Moving down the list, we have Body Technician saying morning from London. All right, morning Body Technician. Thank you so much for coming on in. We appreciate you. Let's see here. All right, we got Flat Six. Flat Six has stepped in the building saying, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Flat Six. We do appreciate you coming on in and showing up tonight. Another new name here. Urso Soprusov. No, yeah, maybe I probably didn't say it right, but shout out to you coming on in tonight. We do appreciate you saying hi. Used to live in McCully Mully, lives North Carolina now. Okay, nice. Well, welcome to the show. We do appreciate you coming on in. Looking down the list, we have Lars Jansen coming in saying good morning. So obviously we know Lars Jansen is somewhere else in the world. UK, where are you at? Let me know, Lars Jansen. Always coming in with the good morning. We do appreciate you showing up and supporting the show. We do appreciate you. Let's see. Moving down the list. Okay, we have Doug Shelby. The Doug Shelby. The Doug, am I saying it right? The Doug Shelby. Saying, what's up, everybody? Central Missouri is there's one huge weather alert that's hindering our pursuit of happiness for real. Wow. Yeah, that's why I can't deal with the Midwest and the South. The weather during the spring and the summer is nothing to play with. So be safe out there, Doug Shelby. Totally know how that goes. All the hail and the torrential downpours. Yes, not a good thing. Appreciate you coming in, though, man, even with all that going on. Let's see. What else do we have? Let's see. Okay. Moving down the list here, we got Big Logic saying smash that like button. Thanks for coming in, Big Logic. Appreciate it. And let's see. Okay. Big Logic, flat 6. Okay, we got Ruth Ann Armatifio saying hi, everybody. Seems like you knew Ruth Ann. Thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate you. Consider hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already, and the notification bell. I don't know if you heard just a moment ago, but on this channel, we go 7 days a week here. So you will always find something going on here at Spaced Out Radio, and we would appreciate having you back. So thanks for coming on in. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Almost there. Yep. Paramar stepped in the building. Hey, Paramar. Appreciate you coming in. Let's see. Melvin from Mars. Hello, everyone. Also watching NASCAR while listening in. Okay. Nice. Nice. Thanks for showing on up. Let's see. Okay, we got those. Renee Cruz. Oh, damn. I must have missed Preston, didn't it? Preston isn't on tonight, Renee. We have Preston set for a later date. Check that thumbnail. I want to say it's the about a month out from now. So Preston tonight is Kosta Makreas. So that's who we'll be talking to tonight. And let's see. Okay. All right. All right. So we are down to the bottom of the list here. So we do appreciate you guys all coming in here to Spaced Out Radio after hours and hanging out with us tonight. There are a couple things it appears that it looks like our guest may not be here until the second hour. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. We were anticipating having the guest for the first hour. In the second hour. So I'm going to have to get that worked out, guys, as we go ahead and get into some stuff here. So we will actually have to take a early break here. So give me just a moment. We're going to take a break, and then I will be right back with you guys in just a minute here. All right, all right. So we're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of phantomandmonsters.com. There was a booking issue on my behalf, so I went ahead and got that clarified. So it's on me. It's on me. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get into some cryptid stories because our guest actually won't be here until the second hour tonight. Won't be in here until 9 p.m. And we've been talking since February. I agreed to that back then and then did not recall that for showtime. So my error, my fault. I will absorb that. And we're going to go ahead for now. Get into some Lon Strickler's phantomandmonsters.com as we await hour 2 when our guest will be joining us here. So let me go ahead and get that going here. Let's get some mood music, some little ambiance here, and get into some really good stuff here by Lon Strickler. Let me know if this is fitting. Yes. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get into phantomandmonsters.com for a minute here, kind of hang out for a bit. So I do appreciate you guys coming in, but don't go anywhere because our guest is coming in hour 2. Hour 2. All right. So getting this started, we're going to go over a few here. I had this one here, as you can see on the screen here, and I'll go ahead and kind of go over this. Bigfoot appears, then vanishes, followed by a flash of blue light. So I'm going to go ahead and read from this, and I'll go over maybe 1 or 2 of these here, 2 or 3. All right. phantomandmonsters.com. All right. Bigfoot appears, then vanishes, followed by a flash of blue light. An Adirondacks resident is sitting outside in the morning, which is his normal routine. He then hears a snorting sound. As he continues watching, a Bigfoot steps out from behind the tree. It says, I received this following account. Hello. I saw something about 6 years ago. It all lasted no more than 5 seconds, but it's etched into my memory. Uneventful, but very real and spectacular. I've told nobody yet. I never felt like I should bring it up, and it was just meant for me. It was August 2018 at 10 a.m. in upstate New York in the Adirondack area. I often left bread, nuts, fruit, and vegetable scraps thrown in the yard. I enjoyed watching the birds, squirrels, chipmunks, rabbits, deer, foxes, ravens, and crows eat the food I fed them. I could sit out there with my morning coffee. The critters did not mind me being there. I would talk and pretend I was conversing with them. Now, this went on for months. I would sit here in the yard as the sun would go down, another animal feeding time. Sometimes I would go out late and very late for a smoke. Again, I would walk around in silence, listening and enjoying nature. A remote and wooded area, the quote woods, if you will. Sounds like I'm rambling, but I'm setting the scene in my pattern of behavior. Not uncommon for me to be here day or night. So one morning, I go out the back door for coffee and a smoke. I'm standing at the back door, breathing in fresh morning air and taking a sip of coffee. Nothing is out of the normal. Birds chirping and critters moving about. Then I hear a snort like a deer would do. I look exactly where it came from, maybe 100 or less feet away. The woods have morning light shining on the line of trees, but beyond that was still mostly dark. I could see about 20 feet into the tree line. I don't see a deer. Within 2 seconds of the first snort, I hear another one as I'm still looking, but not seeing a deer. Something steps out from behind a tree. Its left side is facing me. All I could see was a large black shape step out. It stands there for maybe a few seconds. I know what I was looking at, but I had no reaction other than just watching. It made a noise, but not the snorting kind. Then it walked into the woods. Not only did I see and hear it walk away, but I felt it in the ground. Like it was hollow and vibrated. No breaking or snapping branches, just footsteps. Almost like an echo in the ground. After about 6 steps, it was gone. Nothing changed. Same birds and critters moving about, unaffected. I stood there processing what had just happened over the last few seconds. Other than the echoing thuds of footsteps, it was silent. When I realized that, I walked forward slowly to the spot, not sure what I would see. Nothing. Where it was standing, the ground was covered with fallen and old branches. You nor I, nor a ninja could have walked through there silently. I judged the height an easy 8 foot tall, based on its head height relative to the tree it stood next to. I stood there looking around with no sounds. I walked back to the picnic table and sat on it. Still, everything is as normal. After the coffee and smoke, I observed the wildlife. I go and head inside. As I reach for the doorknob, I feel like I should turn around. So I do, and scan the tree line again. Nothing. Just as I turn the knob while facing the door, I see a flash of blue light, like a camera flash, like someone behind me just took a picture. Instantly, I got goosebumps. My hair stood right up and felt like I couldn't get inside quick enough. Strange but uneventful and very memorable. They had to have watched me for at least 10 seconds before it moved. Haven't seen it since. It wanted me to know that it was there. This thing was massive. That's the story from today. So, yeah, Sasquatch encounter is what it sounds like, right, in the forest. Nothing that I want to be a part of. Nothing that I... Bigfoot burritos, I'm not interested in that. Let me go ahead and give this one because I'm dealing with the shadow person. So there's a story here. 3 identical shadow men seen at abandoned cement factory. So let's see if we can get into that. A group of friends is exploring an old abandoned cement factory when they encountered 3 muscular, long-haired shadow men standing together. Now, the following account was forwarded to Lon Strickler by friends and colleagues, Kyle and Pam at Expanded Perspectives. The story goes, my story references, quote, mirrored men. At first, I didn't correlate what happened to me with mirrored men or an abduction. The more I thought about it, it kind of felt similar. This is a true story and happened when I was 16. I am now 45. I had been going back and forth on whether to tell my story because it sounded crazy. I grew up believing in demonic activity, strange occurrences, or things you may call bizarre, so I never held this belief. My mother and many unexplainable experiences surrounding her childhood and adulthood, so nothing was out of the ordinary. My experience is just one of many, but I have to say it's probably the craziest. I'll tell you what happened. I grew up in a small town, and this particular thing happened in an even smaller town. Like I said, I was 16. My best friend and I worked at a fast food restaurant. Our boyfriends normally picked us up from work, and if it was early enough for the weekend, we usually went to one of our homes. If not, he dropped me off at home. My mom was very lenient, so I didn't have to tell her what I was doing. She knew who I was with and knew I'd be. This night happened to be Halloween, and instead of the usual, somebody had the idea to ride around before we had to be home. It was around 8 p.m. There was an old, long, closed cement plant in the smaller town, and from the sound of it, it sounded creepy. I had only heard of it before, and that night found myself on the way there. I wasn't afraid, just going with the flow and having fun with my friends. It was myself, my best friend, another girl, and our two boyfriends in the car. The plant used to be a thriving, active business built in the early 1900s that had long closed down. It was situated along the outskirts of town, along a very long 2-lane dark road with no streetlights. It was well past any residential area. We drove out to the plant, which took about 15 minutes. My boyfriend was driving. I was in the front passenger seat, and the other 3 were in the back. We pulled up to the plant on our left, but my boyfriend did a U-turn and parked along the fence. The plant now to our right. We were all talking, just saying how old the place was, and what it must have been like to see it in its earlier days. There were machine parts and metal and other debris all over the large lots. Even in the dark, you could make out the junk. We hadn't been there maybe 5 minutes when the 2 guys decided to get out and get closer to the fence for a more dramatic experience. It truly wasn't scary, but the guys were making noises trying to scare us girls. We all started laughing, but immediately stopped. Out of nowhere, lights came on in the doorways and windows of the abandoned building. It was as if someone turned on a light switch that lit up 20 or 30 windows at the same time. In the lights were standing these huge, buff, tall, idle-standing men that had long hair. They didn't walk up to the light. They were already in the light. They didn't appear to be standing behind the structure of the building on the inside, but on the outside of the building, as if on a balcony or ledge. All the men were uniform, all the same size and stature, not saying a word, not moving. They had balled up fists and seemed to have work boots on. I didn't notice any wind blowing before, but you could see their long hair blowing softly in the wind, all in unison. You could see their huge arm muscles, but strangely, these things were featureless. You could assume they were men, but their bodies were like shadows, blacker than black. You could not make out facial features or clothing, nothing. They just stood there perfectly still. I don't know how long before my friend broke the silence with her scream, but we were mesmerized. We were only screaming for a few seconds, but it felt like 100 minutes. She screamed, and the 2 boys ran back to the car. We flew out of the dirt-packed area by the fence, along the road, back onto the pavement, and rode in complete silence. My boyfriend was the first to ask, "What just happened?" Nobody really knew, but we all saw them. We never discussed it after that night, and not once in the 29 years since it happened. We are all still friends, by the way. Over the years, this experience stayed with me, and I often wondered if it happened. Did I remember the layout correctly, since it looked different from pics I see of the building now? Could it have been possible the electricity still worked, or maybe a homeless camp had taken over the old plant? If that were true, how come they had all the lights out before we pulled up? How come they didn't yell down at us to go away and leave them alone? Why hadn't they moved? Was it really 20 to 30 things that looked like men floating outside the building? Why hadn't the news reported that we teenagers were just out there if we disturbed somebody? How could we still see their black outlines perfectly without features and no noticeable clothing, even though we could see each other's clothing in the dark? None of it made any sense. I don't know what happened that night, but I know what I saw. At the beginning of my email, I mentioned mirrored men, although my story differs somewhat. I saw multiple beings. The quote, men in my story was stationary, had no visible facial features. They didn't have stretched out mouths or turned slowly to look at us. This also happened in the 1990s and was surely not heard of at that time. At least I hadn't heard anything like it. And they were most definitely not aliens. Here's the creepy part. I had no memory of being dropped off at home. It was as if I were leaving the plant, and that's where my memory froze in time. I woke up in a shed that was near our house. We lived on the top of a hill. Our driveway was the hill heading to our home with the main road at the bottom. The shed wasn't a garage. Mostly had stuff my mom wanted to go through and get rid of. I woke on an old mattress that used to be my sister's. The door to the shed was open, and I remember it being really cold. My house key was in my hand, and after being really disoriented, I finally went inside. The shed was not connected to the house. It was several feet away. When I got inside my room, the clock read 3 a.m. I had no scrapes or cuts, no bleeding. My clothes were intact. I only thought of mirrored men. I only thought of mirrored men because of this one thing, missing time. Here's the even creepier part. I had just remembered waking up in the shed at the time I first wrote to the other podcast when this whole thing happened well over 25 years ago. I have no idea how or why I was in the shed or what happened in between time. At the first time I wrote about my story 2 years ago, I asked my friend what happened that night. She was the one who screamed. She has zero memory of us ever going to the plant. In fact, she asked me to tell her the story. Since she didn't remember us going out there at all, I didn't bother asking her how she woke up. I also didn't bother asking the others. I just feel weird about it, and it makes me feel like I made the whole thing up. I've grown self-conscious about it, and I don't want to come across as a nut to any of them. They are grown and have families and no doubt moved on from something stupid that happened to us as kids. Who knows if they even remember, but I know it was real and I know what I saw. And that was from a person called C. And as we all know, I've showed you here. Since we're telling the story, I'm just going to show it again. Shadow people are a real thing. And as you all know, it was made evident to me because of something that was recorded in my house. And I'll bring that up here. Shadow person. Almost, well, I'm not comparing this to the description, but as far as features being there, just the outline of, no doubt, a human sort of figure in the form of a shadow. So was this what she saw? Was it similar to this? I don't know, but I can tell you that things are real. I can definitely tell you that these things are real. So getting back here, we're going to go ahead and go into, we have a white-robed, hairy hominid encounter. And it just kind of, so you know what this is. This is Lon Strickler's PhantomandMonsters.com. Definitely go and subscribe to his channel. It's a YouTube channel. Also, he has stories online. We read these occasionally on the show. So as we go ahead and fill up our first hour, we're going to go ahead and do a few more of these as we wait for our guest who will be with us hour 2 tonight. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. All right. So the white-robed hairy hominid encountered on Idaho farm in the 1930s. A woman's great-grandmother and her siblings had a very unusual encounter with the hairy hominid who wore a white robe on their farm in Montpelier, Idaho. I received the following account. My great-grandma passed away in 2010, came from a family of Swiss immigrants who arrived in the U.S. in 1918. They owned a great deal of land near Montpelier, Idaho, where they worked a dairy farm. This area is very rural, and back when I imagine it, even less popular, the story might seem all the more creepy through that lens. I actually heard this secondhand from my grandpa. I don't know why my great grandma never told me herself, because I would have loved to have asked her more detail. But on her age, this would have happened back in the early 1930s when she was around 12 years old. She and her sisters were in the buckboard wagon with their dad when he had to stop for a minute and run in and grab something from the farm building. They were out in the middle of nowhere, basically with nothing but fields for miles, not another person in sight. While my great-grandma and her sisters were waiting in the back of the wagon, some kind of huge, hairy creature suddenly appeared out of nowhere and stared at them. According to my grandpa, my great-grandma said this creature had a very human-like face, but clearly wasn't human. It was black in color and had very mangly hair. There was something really off about its eyes and the fact that it wore a long, flowing white robe. It was out of place for the period and location. She described its expression as curious and a bit confused, but not exactly malicious. Though it obviously scared the crap out of them. The girls screamed and cried until their father heard them and came running back to the wagon. But by the time he got there, the thing had wandered off out of sight. The horse pulled the wagon, was also very skittish for around several days afterwards. They never saw it again. My great-grandma was an extremely sweet, kind, but no-nonsense kind of lady. She wasn't really with the superstition type. She would always chuckle at my over-the-top obsession with Harry Potter, though she wasn't the type to sort out or make the story up. According to my grandpa, she attested to this truthfulness until her dying days, never once taking it back or denying it as some kind of childhood prank on their father. Do you have any idea what she and her sisters might have seen? My initial thought was Bigfoot, but the white robe thing kind of threw me off. I've never heard of a Bigfoot account where the creature was wearing clothes. Then Lon's opinion on this story says, well, that's a new one for me. Possible alien being that had appearance of Bigfoot, too bad great-grandmother didn't tell her directly. I'm curious if anyone else has seen something similar. Lon Strickler said, if you've seen or heard of anything similar to what was just described in that story, make sure you reach out to Lon, because he is actually looking for information on anyone who may have had an account like this. So make sure you've heard it, direct whoever that is to Lon Strickler. All right, and we'll grab another one here. We have about 15 minutes till we take our break. Let's get another good one. These have been good, actually. Let me get a good one here. Another good one. We can go with, okay, let's go with this one here. Experiencer felt comfortable during alien communication. That's kind of some of the stuff we may be talking about tonight, so this should be perfect. An experiencer contacted me about a home encounter with unknown alien beings that included both him and his girlfriend. He was comfortable with the incident, but she still refused to talk about it. So Lon Strickler received this following account. So it starts with, I have always speculated that there is more to this life. UFOs, cryptids, New World Order, paranormal, Atlantis, etc. I always believed that, although not entirely true, these stories, myths, and legends came from some truth. Almost a decade ago, I moved out of my parents' house. I lived there with my mom, dad, sister, fiance, and our 3 dogs. I moved out because, well, it was time I moved out. I don't know if this is important to mention, but I'm mentioning it anyway. One night, about a week and a half before I moved out, I had a dream, or at least I think it was a dream, that 3 alien beings were in my room. 2 of the beings were over me, and 1 over my fiance. The beings were not gray, but a greenish gray. The thing is, I did not feel scared, threatened, or terrified, but the complete opposite of that. I felt calm. They spoke to me telepathically. They said, "Please don't be afraid. We are here to help you, to show you the true path, to help you help others." At that point, the one speaking reached out his hand to help me up. This gesture stood out to me because they weren't forcing me to go with them, but asking me if I wanted to take the offer. I reached back and began to help me up. As I was getting up, my fiance woke. She reached for me as she was scared. The being next to her reached for her hand, and when it touched her, that's when she awakened. She started freaking out. At that point, the being let go and tried to calm her. "Please calm down. We aren't here to harm you. Please, we must go." And reached for her hand again. I assumed the being assumed that since I was willing to go, she was willing to go. Because she was freaking out, I started freaking out. I told them to leave her alone, to let her stay if she didn't want to go. They just kept trying to calm us down again, not forcing us to go with them. I sat up on the bed, and as soon as I did, they were gone. The following 2 days, I woke up drenched in sweat. I don't know if it has any relevance to the story, but I mentioned it just in case it does. I have not experienced it since. It might sound weird, but I kind of wish I do someday. I felt at peace with them. My girlfriend, who I've been with since last night, refuses to discuss what happened. She fears that they will return and that I will go with them. Now, Juan's opinion on this, she says, "So that's my story. Please give me your thoughts. Thanks." Juan's note on this is, "This account is similar to others that I have been told. Some experiences, for whatever reason, feel totally comfortable with these beings. Is it possible that there was a previous connection between the experiencer and the alien?" That's a question Lon posed. Yeah, and I've heard this story sounds really familiar. It sounds like the story that you hear a lot from experiencers of abductions. I've heard before the being given the option to go, right? Not simply taking, but kind of getting the okay to go with them. I don't know. I've never had an alien encounter, so I can't really say. But I definitely have heard similar stories that kind of line up. And all these stories are submitted. So these are like not written stories. These stories are encounters that people have. They actually write them up and they send them in to Lon. Lon vets these. There's a lot of them that don't make the cut. And the ones that do are the ones that Lon really feels strongly in, the ones that checked out. So with that being said, there's a lot of them in here. And I will pick, let me see, about 10 minutes. So let me pick another one here. Okay. We're going to go with this one here. Supernatural white dog or wolf encounters at Seneca Nation in New York. After reading some of the cryptid accounts I posted from the Seneca Nation in New York, the witness contacted me about his unusual white dog / wolf encounters as a boy on the reservation. Lon says, I received the following account. It says, "Hello, Lon. I grew up in the Seneca Indian Reservation, the Seneca Nation, in Salamanca, New York. I was reading about the cryptid activity you reported on in that area. I had encountered a white wolf / dog creature a few different times, and it might not seem too unsettling at first, but I'm hoping to hear some related experiences or even some explanations for what I witnessed. I was 10 years old when this took place in 2003, and I had seen this being on 3 separate occasions over a few months. The first time I saw this dog, I was riding with my aunt, and we passed a triangle fork on the road that split the road both ways. On the right side of the road, there was the base of a really large hill. Right at the tip of the triangle patch of grass, a white wolf / dog thing was standing there and staring up at the mountain. My aunt and I saw it and commented on it, and she pulled over on the side of the road and told me to go get it. I laughed and thought she was joking, but she raised her voice and her eyes looked different to me, and she told me, "Go get the dog." I was reluctant, but didn't want to get in trouble. And I figured it was safe if she told me to get out of the car. So I got out the car, slowly approached the dog. You would think a, quote, normal dog would turn around and stare at the car that stopped, listen to the door being opened, and either greet the person approaching it or run away, right? Well, this dog was frozen in place, staring up at the hill. As I got closer, I saw that his fur was all white, and it looked like a short-haired husky or German shepherd or wolf. I suppose, for lack of a better word, its coat was short and dirty, and he didn't have a collar or seem like a pet. It also didn't seem like the regular goofy or aggressive res dog that I have seen my whole life growing up. One of the weirdest things about it was this wild-looking animal, but it didn't have a tail. Not even a little stump like somebody clipped it. It was just smooth all the way down its tailbone. I walked right up to this dog, and it didn't respond at all until I reached my hand out to pet it. It was about 2 inches from his body when it turned around, and I saw that it had one blue and one brown eye. We just looked at each other, and then it walked off. I really felt like I was seeing something I wasn't supposed to at this time, and it just felt unnatural to me, if that makes sense. I got back in the car, and my aunt didn't say anything to me the rest of the ride. To this day, she doesn't remember this event happening and won't talk about it. The second time I saw this creature was long enough later that I had forgotten about the initial encounter, more or less, if that makes sense. Probably a few months or so, I'd say. My house was about 2 or so miles from where I saw that dog, and I had the front bedroom on the second floor that faced the empty residential street we lived in. And it was always lit up by street lights. I had a TV in my room, and I remember staying up late watching TV. And remember, I was about 10 years old or so at the time. And it was around 3 a.m. when I decided to shut it off and go to bed. For some reason, I looked out the sheer curtains before I went to sleep, and that same exact dog without a tail was standing in the middle of the street in front of my house under a streetlight and was staring up the road at the hill. It didn't look at me once or face my house once, from what I can remember. But it was that situation where I would walk away, lay down, close my eyes, etc., then look back out, and it was still there. This happened a few times, and eventually, when I checked it again, it had left. This is a small neighborhood, and this dog did not belong to anybody there. It most definitely was not one of my neighbor's pets. I only saw this creature one final time, and I hate to say it was anticlimactic. There was another fork in the road about a mile from my house, and it's in the opposite direction. One day, I was riding in my parents' car with them and my little brother on my way to my friend's house, and it was just standing out there on the sidewalk behind the guardrail on a little hill. looked at me as we drove past, and I yelled, "There it is. That's the dog I told you about." And my parents were like, "What dog?" "Darn, we didn't see him." And just carried on their conversation like nothing happened. I never saw it again after this. I know most people would try to explain this away as a dream. This happened on 3 separate occasions, and I can still remember feeling its presence in front of me, for lack of a better word. It still gives me literal chills to remember this whole situation. I don't recall if someone died shortly after these encounters. I'm not even sure if the white/wolf dog is an omen for trouble like owls. Seneca and Iroquois in general don't necessarily have stories about skinwalkers, but a lot of our cosmology and tradition relied on stories of witches and them being shapeshifters. Not that I think this is what this is, but there was something so unnatural about that creature not having a tail and the color of its eyes. Its eyes felt like human eyes, and like something more than a dog was looking at me. I have a husky Miss Grez dog, and she has one brown eye, and one eye that's half blue and half brown. She's my best friend and protector, and I can't imagine life without her. It wasn't the abnormal color of this creature's eyes, what lay behind them. That really scared me. And that is another one of Lon Strickler's fantastic stories. So make sure you guys go and support Lon Strickler over at phantomandmonsters.com. Usually we would do this story or these stories in hour 3 is when we designate the time, but we're doing it here in hour 1, and I think they're actually pretty good. Each one of those stories for me was pretty good, and we read these all the time. But make sure you guys go follow Lon, give him a subscribe on his channel, and let him know how much you appreciate these stories, right? He's the one collecting these. These are accounts from, he's been doing this for years. So many different people, turn these stories over to him. And I told him when I interviewed him, like, Lon, you really have a database of experiences that, you're able to dig into and even formulate patterns if we're trying to figure out what these things are and, trying to bring these things to light. Because I would love, and I'm waiting for the day that somebody brings a Bigfoot to the forefront. I'm waiting for it. It's gonna happen. I think it should happen, right? So that's kind of what we'll be waiting for. Let me go ahead and take a look at the chat right here, because I know we got a couple minutes before we go to break. Yes, Deadfish Cheese Bread Story Hour on the fly. You see how we do that? Love it. Appreciate you. Let me see. Yeah, we love Lon. Yeah. I mean, Lon is kicking butt over there, and like I said, he allows us to lean on some of these stories when we need to. He has no problem with it because he's family here, and I think out of all the ones we've read here on the show, these ones actually hit the best for me here. So once again, shout out. Let me see if anybody else is in here in the crowd. Anybody else saying anything here? Barrett, welcome. Thank you for coming on in. You came right on time because hour 2 is when we'll be bringing in our guest, Kosta Makreas. Have some great questions for Kostas, and definitely can't wait to speak to him. So this should be pretty awesome. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere. What I'm going to do is get ready to pause, get us right into this first break of the night as we kick back and get ready to jump into hour 2 right here on Spaced Out Radio. You guys don't go anywhere.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2. As we go ahead and get into the mix here, we're going to be joined by our guest of the night here just in a moment, Kosta Makreas. Can't wait to get into this conversation, so you guys don't go anywhere. This should be really awesome. And then we'll have Jax Harmon coming in for hour number 3. So, yeah, action-packed. Do not go anywhere. And with that being said, I do want to welcome a few more people in. I know Mama Catherine Jones came on in, so thank you so much for coming on in, Mama Catherine. Dead Fish Cheese Spread, we do appreciate you coming on in. The Ferret, I see you there. You did come in as well. Rich Buddy, we do appreciate you showing up. Woo Riders DG, appreciate you coming on in. Let's see, anyone else that I missed here? Anna Boline, thanks so much for coming in. We appreciate you. Asimov 5W, thank you so much for showing up tonight. We appreciate you. And yeah, looks like we're good here. So yeah, here we go, right? So without further ado, let me go ahead and move this comment and bring our guest in for the night. CE5 specialist, amongst a lot of other things, author as well. We're going to go ahead and bring him in, Kosta Makreas. And thank you for coming on in tonight, Kosta.
Hey, thanks for having me on here, Rob. This is great. Great to meet you.
Definitely. I've been waiting to meet you too. And I know we had the scheduling thing. We've been working on this for a few months now. So
yeah, I know.
my mistake on that, but we did go ahead and
no worries. No worries.
Okay.
We're
so
here.
We are here, and that's a big thing. And so I have a list of things I wanted to go through. So you are founder of ET Let's Talk and then the People's Disclosure Movement. So if you could really quickly, before we jump into those things, kind of let us know how you got started in this, any experiences as a kid, kind of leading up to Kosta today.
Oh, have I got a story? But what I like to say before I launch into my story that got me to here is what I found in the last 18 years that I've been doing networking and making contact and meeting people all over the world is everybody's got a story or stories that have brought us, to this topic, right? So I'm no different than that. I had an interest in UFOs when I was a kid. I picked up a book, a paperback. This was the early 60s when this was new to a lot of us. And I was immediately smitten because it looked to me like a really truthful account. It had black and white pictures. This is before graphics and Photoshop. So people weren't able to fake it as much. But I immediately just thought this is something I want to know more about. I was already interested in astronomy and had a telescope, and I was reading science fiction, etc. So my eyes were always on the skies. And when I saw these classic dome-shaped or saucer-shaped pictures with the dome in the book that I picked up, I knew that I wanted to know more. But the truth is, it wasn't until years later when I was a grown-up that out here in California in 2006, I had a week's worth of first contact experiences in a group of other people who were doing CE5. And that changed my life right there, because I also like to say, once you have an experience like this, and it's, up close and personal, which is what mine was, you have to figure out what to do with it. You can either hold it in, and some people do, and they have good reasons for doing that because they don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to lose a job or a mate or something else. Other people want to stand on a rooftop and shout it to the world like, wow, listen to what happened to me. I was somewhere in between all that. But actually, I found myself wanting to have more contact after this week in 2006. And what happened, I'll try to make the story real short. I had several experiences, but the most profound one was we were in Northern California, and many of you may have heard of Mount Shasta, just a really wonderful magnetic place for a lot of paranormal things happening. And it was the first week I was learning how to make contact using, meditation and group coherence with 40 other people at the foot of the mountain, like in a secluded area surrounded by forest. And we were learning that week to identify all the cool stuff that was in the sky, whether it was mostly man-made, or planets or stars. But what was left over, we were learning to identify, were, we believe very much, actual starcraft being piloted by intelligent beings, because they would respond to us in different ways. So the whole week was like that, but there was nothing like me having my own direct experience on the ground. And what happened with that was, one night into that week of us making contact, many of the people had already left the site where we did that and gone back to their hotel rooms for the night. Must have been around midnight, but about 10 of us still stood around in this clearing at the foot of the mountain, talking about what we had seen during the night, shop talk kind of stuff. Someone tugged on my sleeve and pointed off, like, to my right at the edge of our clearing there. And I kind of rubbed my eyes to make sure that I was not seeing like the moonlight or shadows or something, but really what it was there was a sphere about, I'd say, 3 feet in diameter, and it was materializing an inch or 2 or 3 inches off the ground, just slowly kind of fading in. And it was opaque. I couldn't see through it. Everybody else saw it. I was with 9 or 10 other people, and it was very quiet. There was no other, like, vibration, no noise, no wind, but very silent, like in a way that that wouldn't alarm you or spook you in any way. Just kind of coming on, and there it is, floating above the ground, and you're going, what is that? We believe later on, as we talked about it, that it was part of a larger craft that most of which had not materialized. So we were just seeing a portion of it. But nonetheless, it was really there, and it hadn't been there before. One of the members of our group got a telepathic message from, I guess, the pilots, the beings inside of that, who told him, and he relayed this to the rest of the group out loud. He said, I got this message, and what they said to me is that they're scientists in this craft, and they're here to study the human energy systems. And I thought, well, that kind of makes sense. I mean, this is pretty trippy, but we humans are explorers. These beings are interested in us, presumably in a really positive way. And as I found out later, yeah, that was true. So I accepted that, but I realized in the moment, man, I'm having a real paranormal experience. I did not expect this. I was enjoying all the flashes of light in the sky and having them maneuver around and do zigzags, and we would flash our lights and they would respond back. That was stuff that was already pretty cool. But now here this was, like, among us, just a few feet away from me. It was visible there for about half an hour. And like I say, it was up close and personal. Standing next to me was a woman who I will call Gloria. That's not her real name, but she was a very talented psychically, and had gotten to know her during the week. We were friends, but she, like I said, she was standing next to me, and she was standing like this, very still, like very vertical, with her arms out like this, for the whole half hour while this small craft was visible to us. And I did not want to, like, disturb her, because I figured something is going on, but I stayed nearby just to make sure that if she showed any signs of distress, that I would be there to help out. Well, after about a half an hour of her standing there not moving, just like in a trance, she kind of became a little unsettled. And I asked her, "Are you okay?" And she said, yeah, I'm fine now. I'm a little bit disoriented, but I'm okay. So I asked her, well, what happened? You've been standing there not moving. It's really hard to hold your arms like that, for that amount of time. A lot of people can't do that. What was going on? And what she told me was that the scientists inside this craft we had been watching approached her telepathically, or one of them did, and asked her if he or she or it, whatever it was, whatever gender, could merge with her energy body and study her energy system. So right away, this story that she was telling me was in keeping with what they had said telepathically to our other member, which is, hey, we're scientists, we're here to study human energy systems. So she was being asked, like, would you agree to emerge with me, the being, to study you. And boy, to her credit, because a lot of people would have run away, maybe myself too, would have run away at that point. You know, when the voice in your head is saying, "Hey, can I merge with you?" You're like, your hair's on fire. You're gonna run back to your car and go back to your hotel room and go, "Oh, I'll be back another day" or something, right? No, but she was really cool. She said to the being, "You may do that, but I have 3 conditions." So how cool is that? That she was already negotiating. Um, and she said the first condition is that I remain aware of my surroundings. I don't want to be knocked out while you do this. And the being apparently agreed to that condition. Her second condition was that when she told the being it was time to leave, to unmerge, then it should go. But she was like sovereign in her space, and it needed to leave when she was ready. And the being agreed to that. And the third condition was that and this was said in all seriousness, because this is a topic that you hear a lot about. There was to be, on the being's part, no messing around with her generative organs, no probes and things like that with her genitals. That was off limits. And the being actually agreed to that too. So at the point after the half hour, when I saw her get a little unsteady on her feet and all that, that was the point where she had internally told the being, "I'm done, time to go." And it did unmerge, and she was back with us telling us the story. And as I watched, this 3-foot diameter sphere started fading into the background at that point, like they were leaving. Just did a slow dissolve, just as kind of nonchalantly and undramatically as it had come, and just dissolved away. It was gone. So I sat there with all these other people, and I said to myself, what am I going to do with this? There's a certain amount of people that are going to believe me. I'd like to do more of this. I just proved that whatever we're learning to do with CE5 really works. And this happened to me. At that point, I decided to kind of make a second career out of teaching other people and building an international network of CE5 people, so that they could have similar kinds of experiences. And that's what I've been doing for the last 18 years with the People's Disclosure Movement and ET Let's Talk. And I can talk more about the details of that as we go on. But that's my origin story. There's even a better one that involves what happened to my wife, who was back home in the San Francisco Bay Area while I was up there. I can tell that at another time, but the summary of that is that 4 or 5 beings showed up in our bedroom in front of her. They just zapped right on in, and they had a telepathic conversation. That got her to want to join me in doing all of this, because up until then, she had told me, go make this contact, learn this thing. I believe that there's life out in the universe, but I don't see what it has to do with my everyday life. I'm running a couple businesses. I got bills to pay, but go have fun. And until they showed up in our bedroom and communicated with her very dramatically, but very lovingly too, waves of love, she had not expected any of that to happen. And once they had left, they kind of dematerialized after conversing with her. That's when she told me later on in the morning, when I had called her and learned this story, that's when she said, "Next year, wherever you are doing this, I'm coming with you." So it's personal now. And that's what happens, Rob, is when you have your experience and it becomes personal, you stand at this crossroads. You have to decide, what am I going to do with it? And there's no wrong answer there. It's whatever you're comfortable with. And here I am. This is what I'm doing with it. We have a worldwide network of CE5 enthusiasts just making all kinds of contract by the hundreds and by the thousands.
Wow. That's awesome. And I looked into that, and that's what I admired about. I was like, yeah, I got to talk to this guy. I looked at all the things that you're involved in and what you promoted, and things like ET Let's Talk and what that's about, and then the People's Disclosure Movement, what that's about, made me feel good, because I like to have these conversations that move the needle, and I think I like to support and promote people who are either curating data or just creating movements like what you're doing here. So one thing that I saw you do, and a positive energy is a lot of things you focus on as well. You had with ET Let's Talk. I don't know if you still do this, but you had something called a Day of Good News, which I thought was a great concept. Do you still run with that, or if you could explain that for everybody?
Yeah, there's two things, two missions that have a label that I've created that are in parallel. There's the People's Disclosure Movement. Again, we can talk more about that because that's a whole movement and a beautiful thing. But in parallel, and I think just as important, is something I call the People's Love Alliance. And the Day of Good News that you're talking about is part of the People's Love Alliance. Here's what I like to say. The People's Disclosure Movement is all about stuff going on up there. We're not alone in the universe, in the cosmos. The People's Love Alliance is all about the fact that we're not alone here on Earth either, with each other. Because we haven't had full open contact yet, the stage, the ground has to be set on Earth here for it to be the best experience possible for our star friends to come in a mass way with all of us, land on the White House lawn or whatever they're going to do. That's just not going to happen automatically because there's too much strife on Earth. There's the mass media portrays nothing but negativity and mostly fear and all that kind of stuff, negative stuff to us. But the Day of Good News was one attempt, and I'm still continuing it because I have a Facebook group called Good News Every Day. Check it out, where we try to create a positive experience here on Earth. Instead of just looking at what the mass media is showing us, which is mostly, again, fear, we try to make posts about positive things, small acts of kindness and compassion that we may find somewhere online. We share them in the group, or even big things like you might discover other movements where people are doing wonderful stuff that's really life affirming and uplifting people's lives and healing and feeding people, etc. We like to promote all of that because the vibration around the planet will change, and we also find out that we're not alone. You know, we tend to think that the world really is just going to hell in 10 different ways, which it could go if there were not a countervailing force of good people. 99% of humanity, the heart of humanity is sound, but we get warped along the way and we get to thinking we're all alone. And it's just 10 of us and 10 of our friends who care about making anything better. And that's totally not the case. And that's why a Day of Good News was launched. And it was a one-time thing just to see if it could happen. And that turned into the Good News Every Day, the Facebook group, where we, like I say, we make posts. And I encourage people to join that and just make your posts or just read what other people give you. Because if you get up in the morning, like when you're having your coffee or whatever your favorite beverage is, think of what you're feeding yourself. I used to turn on the TV to check the news, and I realized I'm just taking in, I'm not nourishing myself. I'm taking in whatever the horrible headlines are during the day. And my God, that's how I'm starting my day. I'm going to carry that along with me. Yeah. I turned to my own group now, Good News Every Day, and there's just great little posts there of, like I said, little things or big things happening. And that's real nourishment, for the soul. So on a larger scale, the People's Love Alliance is about all of us realizing we're not alone on Earth. Their love is really the answer. And there are great movements afoot that do not make it in the mass media because I guess it's boring to talk about something working right. And that's why you're not going to hear about it. And so we have to be our own media and tell each other all these stories. And that's what the Day of Good News was starting to do with the People's Love Alliance. Someday, we humans will, I think, be able to solve enough of our differences, not all, and kind of have a better fertile ground for the cosmics to come with us and to land on a larger scale where it'll be safe for them and for us, and where we will be more peaceful and able to accept some of the technologies they want to give us without wanting to turn them into weapons to beat each other up. I realize that may be a long way off, but there is a golden age, and we got to build it, little by little, day after day, and at least have the vision. And that's what the People's Love Alliance is about. again, working hand in hand with the People's Disclosure Movement. The Disclosure Movement is revealing the presence of our cosmic visitors, all the positive races, and there are many. They outnumber anybody else, all the positive ones. And they are very active, helping our Earth. They're looking for our partnership to co-create a golden age. And they're happy when they see us making our efforts, to get along with each other and to change the atmosphere of the planet from being fear-based and negative into something that can be, compassionate, loving, with sharing and taking care of each other. So, yeah, the day of full open contact, I believe, will come a lot sooner as we do our work as humans. They won't do it for us. They can help us and mentor us, our star friends, but it's really our spiritual growth. We've got to figure out on Earth how to get along with each other, as hard as that may seem some days.
No, you're right, and that energy and that whole the drive and the passion that pushes you to do and take an angle like that is definitely what I appreciate. And I think we talked energy yesterday and kind of putting out that positive energy, and that's exactly what you're describing there. So that's awesome. And then as well, the story that you told a moment ago, we actually in hour one covered the story where these ETs were actually giving people the choice on whether they wanted to be abducted or not, like kind of getting confirmation from the person. And you touched on some of that, so I thought that was awesome.
Oh,
but I do want to. You had a quote that I also think is awesome, and I've always said this in like 1,000 words, but you put it into like 4 or 5 words, and you said something along the lines of with the People's Disclosure Movement transforming from believers into knowers, right? I thought that was a powerful, concise way to kind of position that. Can you tell everybody what you mean by that?
Sure, that's all about having your own experience. The beauty of CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where we humans initiate the contact, make the connection, and then interact. The beauty of that is that once you have your first experience or your second or your third, and those experiences can happen any number of ways. It's not just lights in the sky. It can happen through dreams, through telepathic communication, can happen by touches on the shoulder and knee, many different ways. The star people are very creative. Once you have that experience, again, like I said before, you can never be the same. So prior to having your first experience, whenever that might have happened, for some people as a child, some people as an adult, and everything in between, before that first experience, you might have been a believer. You might have said to yourself, yeah, there's an amazing amount of stars out there in the trillions. How is it possible that there's no other life out there, and that maybe some of them may not have discovered a kind of physics that allows them to visit the Earth? At that point, when your mind is open, you're a believer, and that's a start. We all start from something. That, if you do CE5 and stick with it, will lead to an experience, and then you become a knower. It's like when I saw my starcraft in front of me, materialize and then dematerialize. I was never the same, because you know what? That action violated all the physics, and I'm very scientifically minded. I'm a computer scientist, a mathematician, etc. Very left-brained. But when you have an experience like that violates the laws of physics as you know them, that should not have happened. You have to think outside of the box and go, what just happened? I'm not sure I can explain it. I would love to see the formulas of how they did that, but I don't have those. And yet I know this happened to me, and nobody's going to talk me out of it. Nobody's going to tell me I was dreaming, hallucinating with all this group of people, whatever. It happened. And that's what comes from being a knower. You go from a believer to being a knower. And that will take you on a path that maybe you had not intended to take, or it may make you just shut up and go, I'm going to keep this private, and that's cool, because I'm not ready to share this in my environment with people I know, because they may not be ready. Or you can do what I did, just kind of jump on the internet and start contacting people and saying, let's start synchronizing our meditations and do this month after month for years and see what happens, and try to build a movement. So So that's where we are, believer into knower.
And I wanted to talk about that because I had some. Obviously, we're talking about CE5 here more specifically. And if you could, there's two parts of this. So, what is the main goal of CE5 for those who may not know? And then you talked. Well, I've been saying for the last 6 months that I wanted to get all of the top CE5 people together to try to bring a moment of disclosure for those who are unaware, and maybe live on TV or recorded. And you talked something about that, and I thought it was actually pretty cool, where you were talking about networking around the globe with CE5 to kind of try to bring in a moment similar to what I was describing. Are you able to talk more about that?
Yeah, I haven't moved further on that, but the idea is out there, and I've had other people contact me about it. Uh, yeah, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of groups doing CE5. Um, and it's happening every day because everybody's in different time zones. Some people do it five times a week, some people once every month or once every couple months. So it's all over the place. But what you have is all these people. So there's constantly a CE5s going on around the globe, which are reaching out to what I call our star friends. And they like to be called star people, not aliens. And I want to put that out there. Let's change that. Alien is kind of a word of like the other, of something that's strange and unknown and maybe harmful or fearful, whatever. They basically have told us in our messages, we're star people. We're elder brothers, sisters, and cousins, literally. And that's a whole nother branch of exploration there. But sometime in the future, I would like to have like a global day, for example, a 24-hour period where everybody in the world who does CE5 joins. Now, we've kind of got something like that because in 2010, we started a monthly global CE5 where I asked all of our teams around the planet to use the 24-hour period, usually or always a Saturday, which was nearest the new moon, so that we would have a dark sky. And during that 24-hour period, and we're still doing this every month, and if you get on the mailing list at etletstalk.com, I make announcements to bring you in. The intention of that is for us to come together as one people reaching out to the cosmos. I mean, we're many groups, but when we have that one intention during that 24-hour period, we're all focused on the contact. And that's what C5 really is about. It's that human initiated, it's not passive. We sit down and we say, we're going to do this contact using, well, there are many forms to try it, but using usually coherent thought, emotion, an open heart, an open mind, as a group or alone, to make the contact and then make it interactive. Because the whole idea is not just to see the lights in the sky, maybe take a cool video and post it somewhere. The whole idea is to make new friends, because the star people have asked us to interact, to connect with them, because that will teach us how to work together, so that when the day comes that they can more fully be among us on Earth, there will be those of us in our network, in our movement, who already have been practiced at making communications with him, and they won't be freaking out when everything happens and suddenly their phone will be ringing, with calls about someone who had put them down before and told them they were dreaming, they were crazy, suddenly saying to them, oh my God, you were right. What's going on? They're here. What's going on? And those of us who have had this practice over the years will have some answers. And we'll be the wayshowers. We'll be the stable places of love and light and grounding, so that the experience of fully engaging with our cosmic friends can happen as smoothly as possible. And believe me, they've already got plans for this. I mean, this is way above my pay grade. They've been studying us for thousands of years. They know us better than we know ourselves. So I know they've got a plan of how they're going to do this, but yet they're seeking our cooperation. And so whenever we get together every month on the Global CE5, which is what I call it, the Global CE5 Initiative, we are furthering the day when we'll be doing this like every day, when they're among us. Did I answer your question, or did
Yeah,
I
you
expand on
definitely
anything
did.
more fully?
No, you definitely did. What I wanted to get into on the CE5 was, so out here, and I actually got to take part in one when we had a Reno fan party 2 weeks ago, and we did a sky watch, and there was briefly some attempts to bring in CE5, but it wasn't. I don't think it was the right setting for it to be done. With that ability there, to call in a craft, isn't it plausible? I would think if there's an element of benevolence and malevolence out there, is it at all possible that you call in a ship that may have some malevolence to it, like or a species?
I understand the question and the concern of that. This is all about vibration. That's what makes CE5 work. It's about centering on the heart, on love, on openness, on goodwill. And what I believe, anyway, in my spiritual infrastructure of the universe, is that when high vibrations are present and we're working from our hearts, and especially in a group where they're magnified, lower vibrations cannot breach those. They can't reach that level. So in a way, that not in a way, but definitely that's our protection. So my answer is, as long as your group, our group, or you as an individual is grounded in love, and you can call in whatever your beliefs are. If you believe in angels, if you believe in spirit guides and avatars, whatever for you is a high vibrational spiritual source, I encourage people use that as part of your CE5 to not only raise your vibration, but it also serves to protect you at the same time from any more negative influences. It doesn't have to be star visitors. It could be influences from astral entities, earthbound entities that seek to find weak or negative people. The cure, not the approach, again, is your vibration, your frequency needs to be high. And again, you can call in and any of your helpers that you want to join you in that, and that's your protection.
That's actually a great answer. That makes total sense. Yeah, I do appreciate that. Let me see, let me get so let's talk about the Galactic Federation, because I see you talk about that as well. If you're able to explain, like, what is the Galactic Federation, and I probably know the answer to this because I know my answer to this, but do you feel like humanity is currently in this current day ready to assimilate with some sort of federation out there?
I think there are humanity, again, is not just one blob, as we all know. It's a continuum. Some people are ready. Some people, this does not fit in at all with their belief system or whatever. So I can't say all humanity is ready today, right now, but there's a large number of us who want this, who are ready. And I believe the members of the Galactic Federation, they know who we are. They can see our light from where they are. They have spiritual, paranormal by our standards anyway, normal to them, abilities to know who we are and to contact us and to develop more of a relationship. So the goal is to make that connection. We have done that. I call them our star friends. Mine have contacted me, and I have a relationship, and I can talk to them telepathically. And I know many other people in our network that do the same. And that's wonderful, because we get together and we share information. Well, what did your people say? What did your folks say? The thing is, none of us humans anyway, has the whole answers to all of this. I sure don't. It's like each of us, I think, has a piece of the jigsaw. Like, if you imagine a big puzzle, we don't see the whole picture yet. We each come with our little pieces. We share stories, and we start putting down the pieces of the puzzle, trying to see what fits and whether we can see something a little bit bigger than what we started out with. That's what I like about our community, is that, again, anybody who says they have all the answers, or they're the anointed one and everyone else is wrong, wow, run the other way with your hair on fire from energies like that. because none of us is that. But as a group, we're kind of not kind of we're crowdsourcing our contact with the galactics, and they are here. And here's something that I really want to convey to your watchers and listeners out there. For all the news that comes about negative things with ETs and people being harmed and all that, I'm not saying some of that hasn't happened, because this is a big universe and there are all different kinds of entities. But let's remember that, or learn, there is a vast number of positive ones who are here and are beaming more love and light to the earth at this time than ever in its history. They really see our potential. They see a golden age we could have. They are committed to us having a breakthrough, not a breakdown. So that's who we're working with, and they're here in larger numbers than anyone else, and they don't get enough press, is what I'm saying. And what I'm encouraging people is to start talking in terms of, we've got a lot of great friends up there, just willing to communicate with us, but we have to be open to it and do our part to communicate with them. And the less that we concentrate on the human beings, the cabal types that have tried to and can control us as humans through different systems throughout the years, throughout the centuries, maybe, the more energy we give them, get down into the conspiracy theories and the rabbit holes, well, the more we're feeding them and building them up. And so I'm saying we can't have our heads in a hole in the ground and pretend that negative influences don't exist, because it's here on Earth and it has been. But the potential we have is to create the future with our thoughts and our beliefs, and together with each other, and realize what a tremendous power we have with all the friends that are out there on the internet doing CE5 and who are part of other spiritual movements or great social justice movements. It doesn't always have to be about UFOs and UAPs. With the People's Love Alliance that I mentioned before, there are great movements of people in other areas, in the political, economic areas, etc., all over the world, who aren't getting any press, but they're still doing the work of uplifting and healing humanity. And they are and our allies, and we are theirs too, even if they're not doing a Skywatch. That's our particular focus. But I want to just say, let's keep focusing on the star people who are here and are amazing. We've seen what their ships can do. They sent us a message that basically said, keep your eyes and heart on us. And, right. You want 4 or 5 words. There you have a very simple kind of a request. Keep your eyes and heart on us.
That's awesome. I have a lot of people out there in the community. The going thing is that these ETs are here. They're observing us, and they are practicing method of non-interference, right, or the prime directive, which I've heard you talk about as well. What was you stated at one point that this prime directive had been discontinued? Are you able to speak about that? Yeah. Is that still current?
Yeah, that's still current. That's what I was told several years ago. And what is the reason for that? Because things are at such a crisis stage here on Earth, and again, our heads are not in a hole in the ground. We know on many different levels things are bad, and they have kept away from being too influential with us, except for the fact they've always told us they would not allow an all-out nuclear war to happen. And there are indications of how they have intervened, and there are YouTubes out there of press conferences where military people have seen craft disable nuclear weapons. So they've always been allowed to prevent an all-out nuclear war. But as of 2019, I believe the message I got was the prime directive has been removed from them for them. And that means not that they're going to take over or start telling us what to do and controlling, but that they are allowed now to cooperate with us at a deeper level with our requests of them than they ever were before. All within our free will, again, they're not going to violate our free will. If we don't want to cooperate, they won't. But if we are open to doing that, they are now able to be more present in greater detail, more active with us. And that's what the prime directive being removed really means now, is they're activists now. They are actually part of working with us. And that's what I want to give all of you as a good message. Again, we're not alone in the cosmos, and we're not alone on the earth. We have all this tremendous help from the galactics if we ask for it. Let's see. Along with that, I learned that because of our efforts in 2010, and let me back up a little bit. I mentioned that our People's Disclosure movement really started in 2010, and we've been every month, like I mentioned, every Saturday during a new moon, our teams come together, and I send out announcements from etletstalk.com to get everyone to participate. We've been doing that every month now. 2010, it's going on 14 years. Well, why did it start that way? The backstory is that the message I got from the star people at that time in 2010, I had a communication with them, and I asked them, what is it that I can do to help your plans? I'm just one person. I want to do something. I have a day job, don't have a lot of time. Is there some place I can fit in that would be of use to you? And their answer came back very clear. They basically said, create as many contact teams as possible in as many places as possible, as quickly as possible. I go, wow, okay, that's an action list right there. And I asked, okay, why? And their response was that the more we create contact teams, Skywatches, contacts, CE5, the more that we do that, that will give them permission to show up in more cities around the planet. And they literally said in more cities, in the sky, on the ground, wherever that turns out to be. And as they showed up in more places, more people would see them, and that would give and want to interact with them. And that would give the star people even more permission to show up in more places where more people would see them, giving them more permission. So you can see, I call this, actually they call this a virtuous circle, where we work with them. We grow, they do more, we grow some more, they do more. And I said, well, that sounds cool. That's what you want us to do then, is start a movement like this. Like, what's the end game? What do we look for? And they said that someday we would be so successful that enough people had seen them around the planet that from that point forward, and they call that a tipping point, there would be a tipping point reached where our movement basically could not be stopped. We would basically own the future. And that's what the CE5 is about. We own the future because we're making this contact. And all the attempts at cover up that had been happening for almost 80 years, and we know all about that. If you're in this field, you're very aware of the cover up in different ways in different societies, different governments. The cover up would be over anywhere. Nobody would believe any government or any authorities saying nothing to see here, move right along. We know better because we will have made our own contact, going from being believers into knowers. And that tipping point was reached in 2019. And that's when the People's Disclosure happened. That was the whole idea, the People's Disclosure, not the government's, because we've been waiting, right? 80 years, everyone knows this. We've been waiting for an announcement from, a president, a premier, a prime minister, whatever, to stand at a podium and say, they're here. We've been in communication with them. Sorry we lied to all of you all these years. Sorry we ruined your careers. Sorry we had you institutionalized. Sorry we killed some of you for what you said, and on and on. How's that working for us? That hasn't happened. There are efforts to try to make that happen in the United States from a grassroots level, which I support. But from the top-down level, all of us waiting with our energy and putting our thoughts into disclosure. When are they going to make that announcement? It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. And that's why we were told you need a People's Disclosure And we did that in 2019. Our movement is now a snowball rolling downhill. These are the words they use, the image. It's a snowball rolling downhill that cannot be stopped.
You are totally on, like, and that's like I said, you're everything you're saying here. People here know I say this stuff all the time. I get so sick and tired of getting tied up or even entertaining government conversation when it comes to this, because we know they've shown that they will not disclose, and it's not in their interest to do so. But with that being said, let me ask you, what do you think the intent is behind them not wanting to give the, I know what I feel, but what do you think their intent is for not wanting to disclose?
Well, it's about weapons and energy. And all of the crafts that they have shot down and reverse engineered, and the corporations in the US have taken this over, right? Underground, the black programs, the black budget, spread out for many, many years, reverse engineering craft because they want to make weapons. And when you have that mindset, everything looks like a hammer, you know. And there's also the control, because they want to keep free energy from us, right? As long as we have to keep burning fossil fuels, we're at the mercy of that industry, and that's tied in with the military-industrial complex. So if the galactics came here and free energy were available, and we know that there's free energy devices that have been sequestered, inventors have been killed, bought off, scared, whatever, that is a threat to the status quo. Because think of how that would transform the earth if we had limitless, non-polluting energy everywhere that cost nothing. It would reorganize our economies. It would create more leisure time. We could use energy to produce everything we needed. Maybe we wouldn't have to work a 40-hour work week. Maybe 10 hours is all we needed. And that would free us up, would free the creative human spirit to do wonderful things. And it would take us from being slaves to having freedom. That's what free energy is about. So if those who want to keep control allowed that to come out and allowed the galactics to share that with us, what they have, that would be the end of their game. So I think it's very clear to me, it's a control game. It's about money. It's about domination.
You're totally right. You're just, I mean, sitting there listening, everyone knows it's just so funny because literally word for word, you're saying the things that I say here all the time.
Good for you. Thank you. You're spreading the word. Keep it going.
Yes, that exactly. Yeah. And with that being said, I did want to ask you this: control disclosure or catastrophic disclosure? Which one do you go with?
People's disclosure. I tell you, it happened in 2019. Think of yourself as part of that avalanche, that snowball. The government will play different games. Now, having said that, my colleague, people that may have heard of Danny Sheehan, is starting a grassroots movement where he wants people power to lobby their congressional representatives to have hearings. And the truth is, a lot of the politicians that we malign don't know about all the deep secrets. It's above their level. You know, some of them are screaming bloody murder now because they're going, wait a minute, we've got craft, we've got bodies. Why haven't I been told? Well, the truth is, it's only been a need to know among certain ones. And so Danny Sheehan and his people are starting on the government side this grassroots people-powered movement to try to force the U.S. Congress to hold hearings and break open all the news, all the three-letter agencies, to reveal what they know. If anybody that I know in the world has the skill and the fortitude to do that, it's Danny, and I support his movement. And it is on the government side, but some people are going to need that. Some people will not believe in the people's disclosure, which is make your own contact. You don't need a middleman. You know what you know, you're no longer a believer. And yet on the government side, some people need that kind of proof, and that's okay. And that's why I support it, because it's a grassroots effort. It's not top down, it's bottom up. It's, again, the people disclosing through this other means, through this other infrastructure that Danny and his allies are leading right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm totally behind Danny Sheehan. I mean, it seems like his heart's in the right place. He's been on the right side of a lot of arguments over the last 40,
Yeah.
50 years. So you kind of got to trust in that. How do you envision? So say full confirmation happens for everyone, the globe, they land on White House lawn, and we have the C5 moment. So things are now different. How do you envision humanity after that point? Or what do you hope for humanity?
An end to war, an end to hunger, an end to want. The economies of the world will be remade. And again, it won't happen overnight because it could be a shock to the system. But when you have enough people of goodwill start thinking about cooperating with each other, loving their neighbor instead of trying to steal the oil under their sand or trying to kill them because the color of their skin is wrong or what they believe is wrong. Once humanity can raise its vibration so that we're treating each other well, I mean, just think, all these bad things can start and will start disappearing. We'll have the beginning of peace on earth. I cannot even imagine the freeing of the human spirit, because if you're not in fear of, as probably half of humanity is, where's my next meal coming from tomorrow?
Right.
You know, how can you create art and wonderful things, inventions, when you're scraping and looking down at the mud of your feet and wondering how you're going to feed your family and your kids? Too much of humanity is in that state. Imagine when there's plenty for everybody, food, justice, freedom, peace. The human spirit is just going to, in an exponential way, create things that I cannot even dream of right now. Could any of us have dreamed 100 years ago that we would be able to have this conversation across the planet, staring at images? You know, that's just one example. I look forward to inventions. I look forward to better health. All the diseases that we have, I know our star friends have technologies, and I know people who have had healings come from star people sources, instant healings of cancer and other things. So there's that we can look forward to. It's a golden age, and again, it won't happen overnight, but we're the ones taking the steps right now. We just got to stick with it, find our allies, keep doing the good work, and we'll build it. And we have, like, again, we have a lot of help from the galactics.
Yeah, and I say that as well. And I always say this. I always say, you know, we're doing the legwork right now, and you know, we may not be rewarded for it even within our lifetimes, right? But the benefit will go to our descendants, those down the line, who will be able to look back at what we're doing today and be proud of the steps that we took to kind of help drive humanity in the right direction. So I'm with you there. And the government, obviously, and it's sad because they want to portray that they care about the citizens, but then actions speak louder than words. And the one thing that could ascend humanity and probably be the most beneficial, you want to keep away from us. And you know, I just feel like our moment is coming, and we're gonna have to tear it down in order to build it back up. And it's just that process we're going to have to go through. So
we're the ones we've been waiting for, as the saying goes, and it's up to us. And I like how you think about future generations. Yeah, we may not see this in our lifetimes, but our children's will. And I hope they look back kindly on us and remember the turbulence of what we had to go through to give them that better future that we're all aiming to give them.
Definitely. And I tell everybody, even in the chat, just having the conversation and kind of getting out there and having the conversation is enough for you to do your part in getting us down that path. You don't have to host a show or be a talking head or anything. This is the part that we play in it. Everyone has a part to play. Just do your part and we'll get there at some point down the line. But I know we're at the end of the hour, so I want to get you back. Okay, so we got to reset this back up because the way we're in alignment on some things, I know the conversations could go crazy places. So I love to have you back. I appreciate you coming in. And where can everybody find your work?
etletstalk.com. Just sign up there. It's a free registration. You'll get announcements about our monthly global CE5 activities, some interesting webinars along the way, etc., and a community. So yeah, etletstalk.com. Tell your friends.
Yeah, and the People's Disclosure Movement, which in those words just says it all, right? It's up to the people. Disclosure comes through us. So I'm loving what you're doing there. Keep it going, and we will talk again soon. Kosta, thanks so much for coming in. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great week.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for all you're doing. Keep it going. We need you.
Yes, sir. We'll talk again.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, guys. Yeah, that was Kosta Makreas. We did what we could within the hour, and so many different places I think him and I could go. So we're going to love to get him back in here, and we will schedule that. Kosta, appreciate you for coming in. You guys don't go anywhere, though, because we do have Jax Harmon coming in for hour 3. So we're going to see what she's been up to, kind of get into some good stuff. So we'll pause for the cause, take our last and final break of the night right here at the After Hours. I will see you guys in just a minute.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
All right, guys, we are back. We are back with Spaced Out Radio, after hour number 3, with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. As we go ahead and get into some good stuff. You guys are space travelers, right? If you're already a space traveler, since you are, please consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 buckaroonies by hitting up our Patreon. We totally appreciate your support of Spaced Out Radio. So once again, right, we're on some awesome stuff tonight, having awesome conversations. Kosta was exactly who I thought he was. We definitely align, and you guys have heard me speak on this before. You know what I'm passionate about when it comes to moving this needle for disclosure, and the reason why I even sit up and do this thing, right? Not for the funds, even though we do support, appreciate the support of Aloha Dave coming in right here. We do appreciate that. I think that was definitely a solid interview, and we will be doing it again. So it's what we have to do. We have to have conversations that move the needle. You know, we can tell stories. Stories are great as well. But the, grassroots efforts, the boots on the ground, let's put the plan together. How can we get to this point, right? These are the conversations that are most important to have if we want to get to disclosure, if we want to successfully handle the moment that we're in and drive this, our path the proper way. It's all for the work that we're all doing right now. So that's not just me or Dave or Kosta. That includes you as well. The input that you put in the chat, and when you leave the show, the conversations that you have out there in the world, right? I'm sure are based in a lot of good stuff, because you tune in to Spaced Out Radio, where we actually get to have those conversations. Let me go ahead and take a look at the chat real quick here. This is what it's about. And like I said with Susan last night, this is starting off, at least the next couple of weeks, where our frequencies will be raised with the conversations that we have. We have a lot of good energy related conversations, and some of the things that you need to carry out there into the world on a daily basis to kind of make this thing go and make this thing a better thing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep doing that. I think it's a good look, and I wish more within this community would focus on that and pay attention to how important this part of the conversation is. We have to do something to move forward. We can't sit still in the same spot having the same conversations amongst each other. We really have to try to move this thing and get to a point to where we're on the other side of disclosure. We're not still on this side, and we got to have a plan for when that day comes. So that's what these conversations are about. Raise your vibes. I like that, Samart, man. Let's keep doing that. And as I'm off 5W, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. And I believe with you. Here's one thing I want to play real quick, because I have a sound bite of, I thought this one resonates with what's going on, right?
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
so awesome, right? Because they think that we can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
But we can handle the truth, and we have to handle the truth because disclosure is sitting in our face, and we have to do something about it. So let me go ahead and get into our hour 3 as we go ahead and bring in the lady of the hour, Miss Jax Harmon, and get into some really good stuff. So Jax, bringing you in. And how have you been?
I'm doing good. I'm actually in Arizona tonight visiting a friend. Many of you guys might know her, on Nation. She was just at the SOR party with us in Reno.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Hey. Yes, I remember. Definitely.
Yeah. She just bought a brand new house. So my daughter and I decided to surprise her and come up and help her get all moved in.
Hey, Shelley Montgomery, thank you for coming on in. Well, that's awesome, Jax.
Yeah.
I was, I don't know if you saw anything we had going on like a week ago, but I had, during the show, it was last Sunday, because Mara wasn't going to do the show, but then I did the show anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And during the show, I was just doing like a live replay. And during that show, I had my Ring cameras went off. My girl comes in here in the studio, and she says that she just saw an orb on the Ring camera. So she showed, well, I'm doing the show. So I tell her download it and send it to me so I can go ahead and show it during the show. So I had an orb, and actually I can probably show it. I think it's here. So let me see. Let me try to.
Just somehow my phone went weird. Hang on 1 second. Let me get some help.
Yep. You may have to leave and come back in.
It's so weird. My phone's acting so weird. Okay, so for some weird reason, it's like it's at the top, but I can't get it back on.
It's technology.
I know, it is messing with us big time. Orange. It should go back.
I'll try to get this while you're doing that. Let me see.
Okay.
Is it this one?
Feel weird. Like it doesn't want to let us on.
Okay, no, that's the knocking, but that's okay. Not that one.
Hit the bottom and let's see. Maybe then. We're trying to get back on. It's not letting us back on. Hang on.
Yeah, you may have to leave and come back in. If you have to, that's okay. Don't worry about it. All right. And while she's fixing that, guys, I want to get this ready because Jax is the paranormal reporter on Sundays. And I know she will get a kick out of this because she, while we were in Reno, and hopefully she can show this, she actually caught an orb during our trip in Virginia City. So during the video that she was taking while they were telling us the story, she actually ended up catching an orb. And I want to see if it was similar to the one that I caught on camera. So this will be her first time seeing this here. Zaddy says orb above the house. No, this was in the house. Zaddy is crazy. I'm going to show it to you guys in a minute. It is mind-blowing. I'll just say it's mind-blowing. And Jax is back. Okay,
sorry about that.
You're good. We had go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that is like so common for us tonight. We've been having nothing but weird problems.
Yeah.
All night long.
That's all good. We pushed through those. Let me see. We have I want to show. Okay, so I'm gonna try. There's a 3 video. So like I was saying, I don't know if you heard. So I was sitting here doing the show that day. She comes in here while I'm doing the show, while I'm off camera, and says the Ring cameras were just triggered. And she was like, there was something weird on there to trigger them. And she showed me the video on her phone, and it was an orb inside of, we have like a side house connected to our house, or like an apartment, and we have no one's in there. It's complete pitch black dark. The Ring cameras get triggered, and you see this orb just floating around the room. So it happens like 2 or 3 times where it's triggered, and then she goes in there. You see her on video, like on the 4th video, her kind of being scared and kind of opening the door. She goes in there. The orb is still there. She turns on the light. She does not see this orb. She knows where it's at because she saw it on the video, So if she's looking in that section of the room, the orb is still there and she doesn't see it. So let me see if I can. I want to show you that. Let me
See that.
let me see here. Yes, look at this.
Oh wow.
So that was video 1. Let me
Okay.
get to video 2.
Now, is this anywhere? This is in your house.
Yes, in our house, the side house. Now, this house has had shadow people that I've shown you. We had the UFO sighting here and the knocking that I'm about to play for you in a minute as well.
Okay.
So this is video number 2, and you can see the orbs up there at the top. It's just floating around, and it's like a ring. It's not like it's like a hole in the center of it. I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
But in the first video, you saw how big it got, and it's like floating in front of the door, like here in the little small kitchen area. There is no light in here. This is just low light camera, obviously. And you'll see her come in. So let me see. Okay, is that it for that one? Yeah, that's it for that one. Let me get the other one up here. And this is...
You still see it floating.
Oh, you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this one is... See, this one is... Okay, this one is her coming in. I'll have to fast forward a little bit, but you'll see the orb still there, still floating around. So at this point, she's seen this orb on her phone. She's scared. She hasn't come and told me yet, and she's about to go in there on her own to kind of see if she can see what this thing is.
Okay.
So you'll see her turn the light on. You'll hear the dogs. Yeah, Timoth Man, what's in the cupboard? I still haven't looked, Timoth Man. I gotta go look. Yeah, Shelly, can you play a part of the video so you can look at something? Tell a piece. Yeah, let me know what piece, Shelly. This is the 3rd video we're playing now. Okay, so the orb is just chilling. It's just in there. Well, here's okay. She turned the light on remotely.
Okay.
In here.
You'll see it.
I told her she's brave because I wouldn't have done it. I'd have had to get her first and bring her with me. But yeah, it's up there. It's just still up there. You can see it. The light is on. You can still see it.
Yeah.
And she should be walking in shortly. Yeah, this is what I think of a lot, Zaddy. If that thing goes inside of you, what happens? Does it take over your soul or what? And that's what I'm worried about because she didn't see it. So it could be floating around here right now in the studio.
Yeah.
No.
And look at it. It's just all over the place.
Yes. And then she's going to come in eventually here.
Okay.
Yeah, the dogs. You can hear the dogs. So here she comes.
Okay. She's like, all right, where are you?
Exactly.
And it's over there behind the door. Now it's coming up.
It's funny how scared she is. If she's watching this, I know she's laughing. So it's up there in the upper right corner of the screen. She's looking around. She's like, I don't see anything. Where is this at? And
she's out.
Yeah, she's out. She checked the camera. She knows what part of the room it's in. She looked. She's checking the ring camera again on her phone now. I don't know if she sees this live or not. I'll have to ask her.
If you look up, it's like off a little bit above her to the right. It's like she's looking and it's above her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alexa, turn off first living room light. Okay.
Notice that it away from the door and it went up against the ceiling and then it went across and it was above her off to the right, like it was watching her, but it didn't want to be seen straight ahead. Did you see that?
Yes. And then
yeah,
here's the next video. So the next video just basically shows that it's not there anymore. So whenever the moment it disappears here in this frame, which I think it's gone now, is it? I don't see it. I think it's gone. So here's the final video here. And I keep asking myself, how in the world am I getting receipts like these? And I just don't know. And it's unsettling because all this stuff keeps happening here at this house. Stargazer says, Rob got all kind of paranormal activity going on. Might need Dave to come bless your house or somebody, right? Shelly says it was way before this. Remember, right? You can see the chair. Okay, let me. I think you want the first video here. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Let me show this to Shelly. I'm going to show you the knocking here next. This is the one, Shelly. This is the first video.
okay.
Now, if someone can just explain, please, because I don't think there's an explanation.
Okay. I'm curious, like, what's in that area that it's floating around by that cabinet? Is it just a cabinet above something, or is it just
that's an empty space, like where you would stick like a mini fridge or something there.
got it below?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm not sure what's in that. Someone asked me last time I was supposed to check. I didn't check, but
Okay, yeah, I'm curious too. Like, what's in that cabinet, and why does it kind of float near there? But it seems to stay like very near that cabinet and that door.
yes. And then the ring camera is sitting up against the wall, so there's a wall right behind the ring camera, and that wall is the wall that's connected to the rest of the house. So yeah, so that happened live during the stream last week, and then I had to download it and I showed it. But then this was also what happened as well. So you're gonna forgive me for the loud dogs, but this is let me take this back. If you listen closely, right before the dogs bark, you're gonna hear knocking, and then you'll see her walking around looking for what's knocking. He's already at the front door, checking the front door.
Robert, was that you? Robert, was that you? Somebody knocked on the door. No, it wasn't the front door. I don't know. Here. Huh? It was like 3. No, it was an actual knock, though. I don't know. Like the back of the house? Let me go check.
Let me go back for anyone who missed the knock. Are you able to hear that, Jax?
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
Okay. So very audible. Very audible. Where did it come from? There was no one at the front door. She's at the front door. That's when the knocking happened. She was already sitting next to the front door. So no one was out there. The backyard and the front yard is even fenced off. The backyard is definitely fenced off. There's no one back there. She checked. And we have cameras in the backyard. And there is no explanation for where the knock came from. So just a bunch of weird stuff happening here at this house, Jax. And I don't know, man. What do you think, Jax? What do you do? And here's the other thing I wanted to say, because you got an orb when we were in Virginia City, and I didn't remember what it looked like. I wanted to know if it was similar to that, because you remember Science Bob and Lala said they took something home, and I was just making sure if the orb was similar to yours, and maybe that came with me, and then because this just happened. So that's why I wanted to see what the video you took. I don't know if you have it available, but
yeah. Well, we actually had a couple different times while we were there where we caught different orbs and in different colors. We saw it in white, like you're seeing it, and then we also saw it in blue. So that was really interesting. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but when we were up in the hotel, Silver Queen, we were capturing blue lights and blue orbs. So that was really weird. And then
at the hotel?
Yeah, at the hotel. So when we were standing downstairs, I can't remember exactly what shop or where we were standing, but I was leaning up against the glass, and someone was, I think the tour guide was saying that there's a spirit of a child, and I was put my hand on the glass, and I remember saying, if there's a child here, come over, approach us. It's okay. I'm a mom. I have kids. And then I thought I saw like a white kind of grayish. It almost looked like just a very light, almost like a fog, almost like short childlike size movement. And as soon as I said that, I felt something hit my left ankle. Well, as soon as it hit my ankle, Lee Strauss was standing there and says, "Oh my God, I just caught an orb coming out and went right across the bottom of your leg." The exact same time I said that. So that was really interesting. So I got that on video or anything. That was weird.
Did either one of you experience anything weird when you went home, or just anything?
Well, it's funny that you would say that, because ever since we got home, I have been having like now I do already suffer with things like bad headaches and allergies and stuff like that. But out of the norm, every so often I keep getting like severe nausea, headaches, almost like a pulsating feeling, weird feeling in my head. It makes me feel like I just want to randomly just throw up out of nowhere. I'll be perfectly fine 1 minute, then all of a sudden I've got these stomach aches, and it almost feels like acid reflux, and it wants to come up and I want to throw up, and it's just been the weirdest experience. And I was actually going to tell you about that because tonight Lee's actually doing an event for his team, is over in Eastern Washington doing a sky watch, like a weekend thing, and they were going to go live at 9:00 tonight. They've been set up for 2 days. Everything's been perfect all day long, and at exactly 9:00 when they're about to go live, they like 4 different cameras shut down. It's like then the 5th camera shut down. I mean, it was just like boom, 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 all at the exact same time. Like energy just got massively drained. Well, the weird thing was about maybe 30 minutes to an hour before I even found out about this, because I'm here at Ane's house, I told her I am not feeling well. All of a sudden, out of the blue, I'm feeling sick to my stomach. I feel like I'm going to get sick, and my head is acting weird. It's almost like I've been completely drained of all my energy. And so all of a sudden I get a call from Lee saying like, oh my God, all of our stuff just got drained. And now I don't feel good. I feel like I'm going to be sick. My head hurts. We feel like we're exhausted. We're like our energy is being drained. And I said, that's weird because I'm feeling the exact same thing. Well, minutes after we were talking about this, here in Ane's house, all of a sudden the TV was up. My daughter was watching this movie. The TV goes completely silent. All of a sudden her dog started barking like crazy, and she has 3 little dogs, and all of them were like staring down at the hall directly at my room where I'm staying in right now. And I said, something weird is going on here. this
Yeah.
is this is not okay. This is not normal. But yeah, there's definitely something happening. Absolutely, there's some weird energy in the air. There's some things happening up there with them. There's some things happening with me. But one of the things that I was going to share with you is that when I get very close to someone, I start picking up on a lot of the things that they're going through, and that may be exactly why I'm feeling that tonight. So, and I feel perfectly fine now. So I don't know what's going on with them right now with their situation, but the last I heard from them, nothing was working. Like basically nothing. Like they only had maybe 1 or 2 things up running, and everything else was dead.
Now I remember Melinda said the little phrase to make sure that these things didn't attach, but I don't know if it worked. I would love to talk to Lala Science Bob to find out the experience that they had, and now what it does for me. Now, if I would have never heard Science Bob and Lala say that they felt like they took something with them, then I wouldn't really probably relate this to that. But now, because that is cloudy, I don't know if what we were just looking at is a part of what was already here, or if there was something now in addition to that. And here's the crazy thing. I have never in my life been that person, right? Been that, oh, I'm seeing things. I've never been that person. I've never had any experiences. And then for me to have them all within the last 2 years, and it keeps blowing my mind that I can confirm these things as being real based on these things that I'm showing here. And I can still not believe what is currently going on here, but it's evident, right?
Oh, absolutely. You guys are having paranormal activity 100% in your house. If it ever gets to a point where it's making you uncomfortable or in any way, like you and I've talked about this before, you guys both have the absolute full power to tell that spirit to leave. All you have to do is tell it it's your home, take control back, make it understand it's not welcome there, and whoever it is has to leave. So don't ever forget that.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely, like I said, I'm taking all advice here. And it's just like I've heard people say these things, and I watched shows where they depicted this. And here was the other thing that really kind of clicked for me. It was weird that orb, when I saw that orb, and I'm like, wow, this is real. Then it made me think of an episode of Skinwalker Ranch that I saw, because I've said this before. I've been critical of Skinwalker Ranch, and based on the sciences that they do, they never show the results. But they showed an orb similar to this on their show, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, that could be this." But I know it's real now, so for me, it's like, well, wow, how much of their other stuff is actually real?
Oh,
That
absolutely.
we may be overlooking. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's
Very
a
strange.
example of like exactly what Lee and Andrew and Lee and Alex are out there doing tonight. Like they're out doing a sky watch, and they're very much trying to connect with like what's in the sky, the energy, and if they can connect with what aliens, UFOs, whatever you want to call it, okay? And all of a sudden out of nowhere, every single thing that they have that's perfectly ready to go at 100% charge, and they're all drained in the exact same moment, that's not a coincidence.
Yeah. I wonder what that is, because they say that at Skinwalker Ranch as well. And that's another claim, because I never heard it anywhere. Well, I've heard a few things, but for them to say all batteries go out, I'm like, huh, come on. Yeah, really? I mean, everything at once, all batteries just drain dead. But then other people have experiences like Lee. So I'd love to see more. Is he going to show this on the show, or I
Yeah,
know okay. So
they
we'll have
are.
to tune in.
He's going to come on and try to share that with you guys as well later. He's in Eastern Washington right now with his team. They were supposed to be live at 9 o'clock, so they could be on as we speak now. I'm going to check after we're done here to see if it ever works. But yeah, they all of a sudden, I mean, literally the minute they were ready to go live, it was just like boom, 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 like everything just drained at the exact moment. And the weird thing is that, they're right next to water. Okay. And a lot of times there's a lot of different people who know and believe that there are aliens or, I don't know, like whatever you want to call it, UFOs. People have seen things go down in the water. Okay. And that's a very well known thing. And people have seen that multiple times in California and in other places where they'll go into the ocean. Catalina Island, where people claim to see these things go in the water and don't make a splash, don't make a sound. It's like they just disappeared into the mountain, exactly like on Skinwalker Ranch. Well, another thing that he was experiencing, I don't know about tonight, but he was telling me about how another reference from Skinwalker Ranch that he had was his watch or phone will all automatically just start changing. Like his phone will start like searching for like different things. Like 1 minute is fine, and the next thing his phone searching on, like, say, Amazon. It's like
Wow.
doing these random things. Yeah. So there's definitely a weird energy in the air. Something's happening. And I think because, with Lee being an abductee himself, he already has that connection.
Yeah.
And I already feel like they already know where he's at. They already know what he's doing. They already know that he's looking for that connection. And here they're about to go live at 9, and then boom, all this happens. They're giving it to him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we're
And I'm glad you said that, Jax, because I've been feeling that way, and I don't want to say it because and then it just sounds like I'm just bragging on myself or boasting on myself. But it is troubling to me that the things keep happening to me. And not only that, but just like in his case, where it happens as they're about to film, so you get the receipts. And then it's the same thing with me, and I'm having all these receipts, and I'm not looking for these receipts, but they just keep being handed to me almost, which is I'm still not understanding, right? Weird.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that you've literally opened yourself up. Like you said, 2 years ago, you would have been like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I'm not sure I believe that, or I need proof. Well, that's what they're doing. They're giving you what you needed. They're the things that you wanted to see, the things that you needed to see to now be a believer. That's exactly what they're doing for you. They're showing.
Here's the heavy part, Jax. I think I told you this before. I've said it on the show before, and I didn't put these two things together because the person that I heard it from, the way he comes across is like he's calls himself a reptilian channeler, and the way he talks is like he's the only one that can talk to these particular beings. And I don't really vibe with you have to go through me, I'm the only one that can. I don't vibe with those types. And but he said one thing, because I guess he felt like during the interview that and it wasn't hosting, I was co-hosting, but I guess he felt like maybe I wasn't buying into the things that he was saying. So, and later in the interview, he asked me if I would be open to meeting one of these species, and I on the show, and I said, yeah, I definitely would be open to that. Like, if you could do that, you could set that up, I would totally be open to that. I said that to him. Literally less than 7 days later is when I had my UFO sighting with 47 objects. Literally. And I'm like, would that have anything to do with that? Is it possible. I don't include it in my story because you kind of have to go a little ways to connect that, but it just so happens that we had that conversation on a show 6 days before my very first UFO sighting ever.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And I love hearing you say that too and sharing that because and I've been telling everybody for years, we all have this ability to see things. We all have the ability to feel things. So if you open yourself up and you give yourself basically that gift of I'm allowing this to happen. I'm putting it out there in the world, into the universe. Like I'm manifesting this to occur because I want to see it for myself or I want to feel it or have that experience. That's when you will start having those experiences. They've always been there. That's the thing. But we've closed ourselves off most of the time to where, we don't open ourselves up as much as you have recently.
yeah.
Say, okay, now I'm ready. And it's showing you. So it's like, here I am. I've been here all along, but now I want you to see it because now you're at the place of fully opening yourself up to understanding that we are here.
Wow, and it's amazing, Jax. And it's freaky though. I don't want. I use the word scared, but it's not really scared. It's just it was more like unsettling. Just the realizations that keep happening. Like it's another realization that this other thing is a real thing. A shadow person standing in your living room, the orb floating around your house, and you can't see it with your naked eye. So are they around here all the time? Just all those things start to open up. And as a host of a show, uh, I like to try to still be open minded and keep in the middle road. So I recalibrate myself all the time when it comes to like, am I too far over to this side and believing now, or and trying to make sure I'm still in the middle? But I think that might be another reason why I'm getting the receipts, because it's not just the story that I get to tell, but I get to show that these things are actual things that happen. So it kind of benefits the position that I hold, standing in the needing to keep a middle of the road approach, right? So
Absolutely.
and the weird thing is everyone is watching this happen to me in real time. Like
Yeah.
during the show, this is happening, and then we're able to show it right on the show. So it's like,
Yeah.
is it because I have the show and I can show people this stuff that they're giving it to me, and I'm able to, because I can now show everyone else that
Uh-huh.
these things are real? Like what really is it?
Well, it's just like what I said. It's like you're putting it out there into the universe. You're telling them, like, they hear us, okay? And it's like what you said a minute ago. Oh, they're finally opening themselves up to me. Well, it's actually the opposite. It's you opening yourself up to them.
I like
And
that.
so the fact that, they're doing this on real time, they already know that you want those receipts. And that the fact that they're giving it to you live is their way of sharing that gift with you.
Yeah.
So it's like an amazing thing that's happening because it's not only showing you, but it's showing a lot of other people who may be in the same boat you were a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're opening up. It's an
It is
amazing thing.
it is amazing, and it is just man, I used to watch movies about this, shows about this, and it's just weird to maybe one of the things happened to me
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, okay, orbs. But all the different, like almost every side of the phenomena, right?
Mhm.
UFOs,
Oh,
shadow people, orbs, and the phantom knocking and footsteps on the roof. Like
oh
these
yeah.
are all different sides of
I've had
ufology, what we talk about.
oh yeah. I've had every single thing you're talking about. The footsteps. It sounds like people are walking on your roof, or even sounds like maybe there's someone in an attic that doesn't exist, moving furniture around. You hear a voice and then there's nothing. You hear a breath, you smell cigarette smoke. There's like all these different things that can occur and happen. And and you look around and it's like no one's here. Nothing. You just and then it's like is it me? Is it my mind? Is it happening? But it's true. These things are really happening. The door knock is it's ironic because I moved into a house in the South and I lived there for 4 years. night one, I've shared this before. I don't know if I've ever said it on this show, but night one that I lived there, there was a knock at my bedroom door as loud as can be. It was just 3 knocks. It was knock, knock, knock. It was like a really hard man knock. And at the time I was married, I looked at my husband and I said, that might be our daughter. Can you go check the door? Because her room was down the hall and we thought she was asleep. Well, of course he gets up, checks the door, and there's nobody there. Well, I'd already yelled, "Come in," thinking it was her. And so I felt horrible from that moment on, because we had very weird paranormal activity for 4 years. And I mean, it was every single day. And I felt like I had invited it in by saying, "Come in."
Yeah.
So, and it was a hard thing to do. We actually, and believe it or not, being in the paranormal doesn't mean that I can make anything leave. Okay. If something on like the darker side of something, it can have a lot of power. And, if it's not good, you can't always make things leave. So if there's something in your home that is like, really bad or really dark or anything on the negative side. And we did have a lot of negative activity in this house, okay, especially to our son at the time. And at some point you have to realize, like, this isn't good. This isn't a good spirit. Like, when I see what you have in your home, I don't get a bad feeling at all.
Okay.
With the shadow figure, I don't have a negative feeling about it at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. The orbs, none of it. Like the knocking out, things turned more of to like a negative situation where bad things started happening. Things can change. But as of right now, do you feel like there's anything that's harmful to you?
No, I don't. I got
Yeah.
the same vibe from the shadow person. Didn't really feel anything, but I still look over there every time I walk past. But I didn't feel any malevolent intent. No.
Yeah.
No.
You'll forever look, you'll forever think like, I know what I saw, and it doesn't even matter if it's there or not. You'll constantly see the shadow person in your mind. So
Yeah.
it's
I'm not afraid to say it, right? Because I'm dealing with it, and you're not you, but in general, right?
Yeah.
So so I turn the light on, I do all that good stuff, man, because I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I know it's there, and I don't know what it is, and I just feel more comfortable doing that. But here's one thing, and I said this to my girl as well when we were talking about the orbs, because I was explaining to her that based on people that I've talked to and interviewed, some people say that these orbs have turned into Bigfoot. They've said they've turned into NHI, and Parsi X says exactly what I was telling her, is that the orbs in the house are spirit orbs or NHI. He's experienced them both and has a picture of an orb that morphed into a gray NHI. And that's what, when it comes to, when I said I've experienced every part of the phenomena so far, it's been everything except face to face with a cryptid or ET face-to-face sort of maybe abduction or just face-to-face. I haven't had that yet. And the fact that people say that orbs morph into these things, then it just makes me unsettled that maybe that's the next experience that I have. And I hope it isn't, because that's pretty extreme. And I don't really want that, really, truthfully.
No. Well, first and foremost, I want you to know that even the first time I saw the Shadow Man picture, I did not get anything but human. So I don't want you to feel like there's something else, maybe cryptid wise. Bigfoot off the table. The whole alien situation or what you guys saw was absolutely like a connection of paranormal, but it had nothing to do with what's in your home. Okay. So I don't want you guys to have that fear. I definitely don't feel that from your home at all. I don't have that negative feeling. I don't have anything like harmful. It's trying to get your attention for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, it's funny. I tell my girl, she doesn't care. I mean, she was scared in that moment, but like right now, she doesn't care that it was there. She's not even thinking about it. But me, because I do this, I'm thinking about it all the time, and I'm like, "Are you sure you're not scared? Like, you sure you know what those things could do?" And I'm probably trying to make her scared, but yeah, she doesn't even care. She's moved on with her life, and everything's great.
Well, too, you had mentioned a little while ago about, we all grow up watching these paranormal scary movies, okay? And just remember, 99% of those movies, they create them to scare us. They create them because they want to make money off something that's entertaining. So, yeah, maybe some of those things might have happened to a family maybe once or twice or here or there, but it's not every single haunting. And there's a lot more going on in the world of hauntings than just negative. You got to remember there's a lot of our family members or people that we knew that have passed on who still just want to connect with us.
Yeah.
They just want to come in and see what's going on and check on us. And, this could be a loved one of yours.
Yeah, yeah, we've considered that as well. As like I say, since we lived here, my mother-in-law, her mother did pass away, and that's the first thing I try to relate the shadow person to. But it was a male figure, it looked like, in 6 feet, so I figured that
Yeah.
wasn't her. But yeah, we've had some of that, and believe me, I've Googled deaths at this address. I've done all of that stuff in trying to find the answer, and it's just I'm just here because I want people to know. I mean, sometimes you can watch someone, and I've watched it. I watched shows where I saw a person and it wasn't that they weren't telling the truth, but it just for some reason didn't come across as something believable for me because I don't know who this person is. I don't know their character. I don't know what, if they would tell us a lie or not. But I assure everyone, like I'm not that I'm a no BS person. There would never be a reason that I would manufacture or create anything. Anything that you see coming from me is authentically raw, and it is what it is. So I mean, if I know that, if I can look at something and I'm like, well, this person I know is not going to BS. So what they're showing me has to be real. And that's kind of the vibe that I want to make sure comes across. So I don't want to fall too far into what could this be or any of that. I'm really trying to figure it out because
Yeah.
it really happened. You know what I mean?
Have you guys considered maybe looking into the history of your home? I mean, as
Yeah.
far as there could be someone that passed on that lived there. Maybe there's a connection there to that home.
Yeah, I thought about that. And actually, because this just happened last week, and the adrenaline was so high because it was happening in the moment that I'm sure, I wasn't thinking straight. So I've had a week to sit and process. But one of the things that I did want to do, and I was going to do today because I saw him out there, was to go talk to our neighbor we're good friends with and just ask him, like, because he knew the previous residents here, and just say, hey, had they ever, was there anything weird that they ever said happened over here? Because I'm still going to ask him that. I may ask him tomorrow if I see him.
Yeah.
Like, did they ever say anything weird happened over here without giving them any clue? Because if he was ever told anything, it should register in his face.
Oh,
You know what
sure.
I mean? It
Oh,
should be like, whoa, okay.
I mean, these
Yeah.
aren't regular everyday conversations either. And if he does know something, it's gonna trigger that memory of conversation too. So, and I don't know how old the house is that you're in, but like, there it could have been people who lived there before, people who lived there before that, or whoever, how many families have lived in this house. I don't know, but there is like a lot that people don't really think about. They always seem to think first thing it's uh why is it here and why is it me? And does this have something to do with, like someone that I know, or maybe it's something bad. And for some weird reason, our minds want to go straight to something scary. But a lot of times,
Yeah.
like I said, that's just a
True.
movie. That's just a movie. So you guys remember, like most of the time, it's not. It's really not scary.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, obviously anything else happens, I'm gonna let you know. I mean, because there's been even before I had the latest couple things, the knocking and then this, it had been a whole year since something happened. I was telling everybody I haven't had any activity in a year. I think it could be gone. I don't know. And then those other things happen. So I'm like, oh, here we go. But
Here we go.
everyone gets to watch it in real time. Like, and there's the receipts. This year, 2024 is all about receipts.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm trying to promote anybody who can get receipts, get them because they are very important to the conversation. The story is definitely great, But if you could bring a receipt along with that, it just slams it home for a lot of a lot of people who might be on the fence.
Oh, absolutely. And
So
nowadays, Rob, everybody has cameras everywhere.
yeah,
So helping us to actually find those answers and receipts. It's like, whoa, now you have this. And I'll be honest with you guys. I know Rob, and he's not BSing anybody. These are real, raw, like videos. I'm telling you, he's not going to BS anybody about that crap. I'm telling you, this is real. This is coming out straight from his house and probably live.
exactly. And the story continues. So hopefully nothing else happened, because I don't need it to. But if it did, I would definitely bring it to the table. Yeah, with that being said, Jax, it's been awesome, right? Let's do this again. So when does Lee gonna, when his show is airing tonight?
He hopefully is still on live. I'm gonna get off here and check in a minute and see how, if they ever actually did go live. Yeah, like I said, he had so many issues right at that exact moment. So I don't know if they ever got him up and going or not, but they were gonna try to do a live show no matter what, and at least tell everybody what they're doing out there and what their experiences are. So it's been a really, really interesting evening for everybody. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going for them. But we'll for sure be sharing this later on Spaced Out Radio.
And tell Lee, talk to him the night of the Skywatch, and I wanted to see, once he finished scrubbing video, if he'd be willing to come on and show it, because his camera is so awesome and so clear that I wanted people to see what we were seeing out there.
Oh, absolutely. It's such an amazing piece of footage too. Like going back and watching it is just so clear and so amazing. And I remember us standing out there going like, whoa, I see this, that. And then you see it on his camera and it's just like, that's mind blowing.
Exactly. I showed people last week because his camera picked up stars that you couldn't even see with your naked eye. And I thought that was amazing. So
mind blowing. It trips me out. It's just that you look at it in like a whole different way of seeing the sky.
Definitely. All right, Jax. Well, we're going to do this again, obviously, next week. And we'll be seeing you also again on Tuesday with Dave during the week. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon.
All right. See you then.
All right. Take care.
Bye, guys.
All right, guys. Okay. Yes. So awesome show. We did what we did tonight. I think we moved the needle with the conversation. We had some great stories told in hour one from Lon Strickler's PhantomOfMonsters.com. So shout out to Lon Strickler for curating those stories, because we definitely needed those tonight. And also want to thank our guest, Kosta Makreas. And you already know we're going to come back and we're going to have him back because our conversation is going to be a good one, right? When we can sit down and really hash it out, I think we'll get some good stuff out of that. So, and also thanks to Jax coming in with the Paranormal Report and sharing some of our stories for tonight. Another awesome show, another awesome weekend. You guys get ready to get into this work week. Dave Scott is obviously on Spaced Out Radio here tomorrow night, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific until midnight. And let me, I want to see who he has coming up this week, who he has on tomorrow. And it looks like he has the shows posted. Yes. So it looks like he has Lon Strickler tomorrow. What's the chance, right? Lon Strickler on here tomorrow, Spaced Out Radio. Next week, right here on After Hours, I posted a lot of upcoming shows so you guys have a good idea of who we have coming up. We have Casey Samregret and Lisa Parry, who will be here on Saturday. And then we have Zen Benefiel, who will be here on that Sunday. So an awesome week next week. And then we have Drew Banky coming up. We have Preston Dennett in the cards coming up a little later. So a lot of awesome content coming down the pipeline. Make sure you guys tune in, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and participate, right? I know a lot of the week people, when it comes to the weekend, they take a break. but we need everybody to share everything, right? This is all Spaced Out Radio, whether it's the weekday show, whether it's the weekend show, whether it's the Cryptid Huntress show. This is all one big family, one big group, and we need the support from everybody out there. If you're SOR all the way around, and let's make sure that we show that and represent that. And with that being said, let me go ahead and jump into the super chat for tonight, which is Aloha Dave, who always shows love, and I do appreciate that. Great interview with Kosta. Thanks. No problem. Glad I can make that happen. Definitely want to thank everyone for coming. And once again, you're already a space traveler. Consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join the SOR Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month by joining our Patreon. To all of our viewers and listeners around the globe, thanks for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best and what we're going to continue to do, and that is what? Owning the night. Thanks for coming in. Let's do it again.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the
You're
needle.
listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Never say never again.